Women's basketball is a fast-growing sport in Scotland, but it still faces challenges. I spoke to those involved at amateur level and at Basketball Scotland to see how they think the game can grow.
Amy Kirkhouse is the Social Impact Lead for Basketball Scotland. She's the lead on women's and girls' development, equality, diversity and inclusion. She talks about the struggles about getting women involved in basketball.
I think there's just generally a big drop-off. This is across all sports. There's a big drop-off around like early to mid-teens for girls dropping out of sports due to external factors.
Players and coaches also feel that there's a big issue with keeping young girls involved in the sport.
For me, probably the biggest challenge is just numbers, and keeping numbers once we get them.
From the age of 15 up to 18 is like an awkward period, over puberty and all that, so numbers obviously dwindle across all sports.
There are not enough women in senior roles in the game in Scotland. Amy and Cassia both feel this is an issue that needs to be resolved.
I think a big challenge is there not being enough female coaches, club leaders, role models generally, and I think that does have an impact on the number of girls that come into the game and stay in the game.
If that was to grow, probably more women referees, which there are still a good few of, but obviously it's outweighed by males. Just more women coaches as well, just to bulk it out a bit.
But I think there is also an element of seeing what seeing yourself in somebody and seeing that this is a place for you, and if your whole club leadership structure is men, then I think it is quite off-putting sometimes for some young females.
Another challenge that faces the women's game is the lack of media coverage. Despite Scotland's only professional team trying the best they can, there is still not enough being done to cover women's basketball.
The Caledonian Gladiators are doing a lot, really a lot for basketball in general with regards to media coverage and everything they've done with their big arena, and their ladies team's doing really well this year.
What they're doing just now is amazing for it and making it so much bigger. I think women's sport as a whole is getting better with the coverage of the football and stuff like that. I think basketball's just a few steps behind.
It's kind of strange because you start to see things like the BBC Sport are trying to sort of pick up stories in the NBA and that kind of thing, but then are pretty slow to pick up things in Scotland Gladiators, even Gladiators, they're not getting as much coverage as they could be, and especially on the women's side, they're being very successful right now in Europe, and the coverage has been fairly limited. So
despite the challenges, the game continues to grow in Scotland, and Chris doesn't see that stopping anytime soon.
As long as there's a plan for every club, then I think the women's game will just go from strength to strength. I think the more the Gladiators put into it, and the more that local clubs like ourselves and even in the National League set up really focus on the women's game and really develop the younger girls as well, will keep players involved for a long time.
Johnny Orr, UWS News, Bishopton.